If the two numbers have the same value, sort them according to sign, where the negative numbers come first. Okay. Let's see. Array length. Okay, so we could have an empty array as an option. Any integers? So it looks like we can have duplicates as well. And we want to keep the negatives first. Okay. Okay, so I think the most, so the brute force way is just use sort, and that will give all the negative numbers before all the positive numbers, and then iterate through the positive numbers and insert them behind the negative numbers, and that will be O of n squared at the least. So it will be O of n log n for the sort, and then O of n squared to splice in all the positives behind the negatives. The array itself is not sorted in any fashion. So I think one thing we can do is we could have a max heap for negatives and a min heap for positive numbers. So we iterate through the array and we put in all the negatives into the max heap and all the positive numbers into the min heap, and then compare the top two. If the absolute value of one is less than the other, we can pop from that heap. If they're equivalent, then we pop the negative heap first, then we pop the positive heap. And in that way, it will be n log n, because the most any heap can have is n numbers. So every time we pop from the heap, it'll be log n. So we'll iterate through, and yeah, so there'll be n log n. So here we can compare absolute value of top of each heap, top smaller one, or if equivalent, then pop -1 first. And this could be done in a while loop while they're equivalent, or while equivalent. So that's another way. Can we do better? I'll take a minute and try to think if there's any like obvious linear solution.
Not really. It's almost impossible to do it linear. It's a sorting algorithm. The best you can do is n log n.
Best you can do is n log n? Okay. Is there Okay. So yeah, so I think the heaps would be n log n. And let me think. Yeah, so the time there is going to be n log n to iterate through array and place in heap. Popping from heap will also be n log n. So this simplifies to O of n log n. The space for the heap, both heaps. So min and max heaps will be total of O of n space. Any other, and then I guess depending on whether or not we count the output array, that will also count as possibly O of n space. I suppose maybe we could if we're counting this as O of n space, we could do O of 1 instead and just replace each element in the array as we, rather than fill an output array. Just replace element in the array if we want to return the array. Yeah, so I think that would work.
Can you do a dry run on that though?
Yes.
Can you do a dry run on the given example?
Sure. So here's the example, the array. So we have our negatives will be our max heap. So this way, the largest negative number, so in this case, like -2 would be larger than -7, would be at the top of the heap. And then our positives will be a min heap. So this way, 2 versus, in this case, 0 would be at the top rather than 2. So let's iterate. So we go to 2 and we take the max, we test, is it greater or equal to 0? It is, so it's going to go in the min heap. -7 is going to go in the max heap. -2 will also go in the max heap because it's negative. And since it is larger than 7, it will be in front. -2 again, so. And then 0, I think 0 we're going to treat as a positive because you can't have a negative. Okay, so 0 will be in the front. So now we've put everything in our min heap and our max heap. And now we can go about emptying the heaps. So while negatives not empty and pos is the same thing, we compare the two. So compare top of each, compare the absolute value of the top of each, right? So now we're comparing -2 versus 0. So the absolute value of -2 is 2. So let's do an output array. So comparing, let's get 2 carets. So this one's going to be at 0. This one is going to be at -2. So we can compare the absolute value. So 2 versus 0. 0 is smaller, right? So we'll put in 0, and we will pop it out of the heap. Oops. So now we compare 2 versus -2. Absolute value of -2 is 2. They're equivalent, so we do the negative one first. We pop that out. Then we compare -2 versus 2. Then we pop that out. Now we compare 2 versus 7. 2 is smaller, so we will take this one. And then there's nothing left in here, so we just continue popping the max heap. So I guess this is OR. We'll test, I guess, we can test it at the end here while each one is not negative, is not empty. Do this, then the same thing while positive is not empty. Do this. So then this becomes -7 after we pop that out. So then 0, -2, -2, 2, -7. Okay. Does that make sense?
That's very well. Yeah, that's very well done. Very clear, very clear. So how would you do it in a big O one, the one in place?
So to do it in place, so rather than pushing it into an output array, we can let pointer equal 0, and then array at pointer is going to equal whichever number we pop, and then pointer ++. And this way we'll iterate through the array, replacing in sequence from 0 to the end, whichever element we want to push into the whichever element we would have pushed into the output, we just replace it in the array.
So when you pop it off, I mean, but you still need to use the max heap and min heap, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. So it's the only thing we're doing differently is changing this output array to just a pointer and just replacing the individual array.
Right. So basically, still actually big O of n.
Yes.
Spacing.
Yeah. So you're still using the heaps, so that's still O of n. But I was just wondering, some people, they count the output array as O of n. If they wanted that to be O of 1, we can do it this way by replacing each element in the array. Are you saying that we can do it without the heaps?
I mean, the way that I solved it, I used the big O n space, but there's a one solution on the, I mean, the official solution, this is big O of 1, but the time for that is big n squared.
Oh.
Yeah. So I do like your approach, because there are two approaches being posted on the official solution. One is the time being n squared and space being big O 1. Another one is the regular sorting, it's n log n and big O n. But this is very innovative approach where you use a heap, a maximum and mean heap to do the sorting, and I do like your approach. And if you're ready, feel free to code it up. And yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll do that, and then I'll think about that O of 1 space. I had a feeling maybe like pointers would work, but wasn't really sure. I went with the approach that I felt pretty confident in. Okay.
Well, but basically, you trading your space for time, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think like a big old n square is the best sorting approach. I doubt it. But I do like your approach though.
Okay. Cool. Okay. All right. So let's do. We'll do some error check. If it's null, or if the length is 0, I guess that could happen. We can just return an empty array. Let positive equal, we'll have a heap. What heap are we doing for positive? A min heap, so A less than B. And then same thing with negative. This is going to be, negative is going to be a max heap. Okay, so let's be careful here. These can actually both be const because we're not changing them. Okay, so now we iterate for num of array. If num is less than 0, we want our negative to push, else num is greater than equal to 0, so positive for num. Now we've filled our heaps. This is O of n. These are log n. Okay. Yeah, great. So now we have the heaps in, and so we can do it in place, I guess. This will be our pointer. And while negative is not empty, it's not empty, and positive is not empty. So here we compare if math.apps the value of negative peak is, we want less than or equal to positive.peak. Right? If the negative, right, we want the smaller one, then array at pointer is equal to negative dot whole. Is that what we did here? Whichever number we pop, yes, and then pointer plus plus. So otherwise, if it is not equal, then array at pointer is equal to positive. This one we can do this also. And this will keep comparing the two. Right, this will keep comparing the tops of each heap. if the -1, the max is if the absolute value of the -1 is less than or equal to the +1, we want to put that one first. Increment the pointer. Otherwise, the pointer will be positive. Okay. And then here we need to make sure they're both empty. So if this is not empty, then array of pointer will equal negative.whole. And similarly, if instead of negative it was positive, array pointer plus flexible. Okay, and then we can just return the array. And okay, so yeah, I think that should work. We walk through an example. Once both heaps are empty, we'll be done. We moved the pointers correctly and did it in place. Compared the absolute values correctly, hopefully. Smaller, yes, it's bigger than we want the small one. Okay, so yeah, so I think, you know, JavaScript doesn't have a built-in heap, but I can write code for one if you want. But in order for this to run, it's going to need code for the heap.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's okay if you're confident that this is gonna work. Yeah, I don't know a whole bunch of, but I do follow your logic, which is very. I mean, the code is actually pretty clean. Also, I really like your dry run. That really helped me to follow your thought, and also you also has some optimization on the in place solution. So that one was really well done as well, and also I timed it your coding and thinking process actually only like 18 minutes to finish the thing from top to bottom, including your thinking process, your speaking. Because when you actually sort of bit feedback, it takes you around like 15 like, or 12 minutes to come up with your solution, and then take you like a 3 to 5 minutes to code almost 20 lines of code. That's really well done, actually. This is not easy problem, I must say.
Oh, cool. Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for the feedback. That's very helpful.
Yeah. And I actually do not have any follow-up question because you already answered the question that I was going to ask you. Time complexity, space complexity, picking your heap, and also popping off, also appending. You answered them both like correctly. It's a log-n to append, log-n to pop it off, a pick a bigger one. You wrote it already. So I was following very closely, and I do not have any other follow-up questions for you.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, but I do suggest one thing after this session. Maybe you can take a look at the official solution because they did not use heap. They use I mean, the way that I didn't follow the official solution as well. I use merge sort and quick sort, honestly. So this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I have a slight modification of merge sort, also quick sort, and but the official solution is, I mean, different people think of it differently. But you use a heap, which is completely valid, and yeah, I mean, I mean, for I think the best solution is a big over n log n and big over n. I haven't seen anybody can do better than that. Yeah, so I think that's very optimal.
Cool, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my feedback to you.
Cool, thank you. Cool, you want to swap?
Yeah, sure thing.
Thank you. Yes, Python.
Wow, this is kind of wordy. Let me see.
It is wordy, yeah. Take your time.
Okay. I'm not sure if I understand. So the route is given is like a 2D array, right? So and output is 5, so less than 5 kilowatt, and the drone will crash before the finish line. More than 5 kilowatt, and it will end up with excess energy.
Mm-hmm. So the 2D array is
Can
X,
you walk through
Y.
it?
Sure, yeah. So the 2D array is X, Y, and Z, right? So here.
Okay.
Oh wait, how do you comment in Python? Is it like something like?
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You don't have to comment.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this is the route, right? So this is X, Y, and Z. So I guess the key that you want to key in on is how you gain and expend energy when flying through this route, right? So let's see, what does it say? It says it burns a kilowatt for every mile it ascends, and gains for every mile it descends. So if your X, Y, and Z, so think of your X, Y as like your flat and your Z as up and down as your altitude. Does that make sense?
But the route I'm given is okay. So basically, when the drone is going up, and it's gonna burn energy, right? And then when you're
Right.
flying down, and you're gonna gain some energy. So
Right.
okay, and the number on the graph in here, it represents the altitude.
So yeah, so the first two coordinates are X and Y, and the last one is the altitude. So X, Y, and altitude. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got it now.
Is each one. So if you walk through it, so like your energy is, so at your first one it's 0, right? Because they say, what do they say? So your drone starts, it takes no energy to place the drone at the starting point. So
Okay.
then on your next one, you fly down to 0. So how much energy do you have?
So you're gonna gain, right?
Yeah, so you gain. Yeah, exactly. So on the next one, you fly from 0 to 6. So you subtract 6 because it costs you 6 energy to go up, right? And then from 6 to 15, we have 9, right? And then from 15 down to 8, you gain 7, right?
So in total, it's like 4 plus 9 is 13, 30 plus 7 is 20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So 20 means is that much energy you gain?
Did I do that right? 0, 6. Sorry, this is minus. I did that wrong. So from 6 to 15, it costs 9. Yeah, sorry, that's right.
So okay, 10 minus 6 is 4. 4 minus 9 is -5. Plus 7, so it's plus 2.
Right. So your net energy gain is plus 2, right? But the question says, think of it as like, how much fuel do I need to complete the trip? So even though I gain 2 energy, if at some point I need more than 2 energy, that's the amount of energy I need for the trip.
Oh, okay. So okay, yeah, because the tank, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. So if the car is running out of fuel, and even the net gain is not gonna get it very far. Okay.
Right.
So another question is well, how do I use the x and y coordinates?
So as you can tell, you don't actually use them.
Oh, really?
Right. So you don't actually need them to calculate the net energy. So they're just there as like, I don't know, red herring, I guess. They're just there to mislead you.
Oh, okay. Okay, it's good to know. Good that I asked. Okay, so let me read the second paragraph again. Now I understand what I was asking. So implement a function that computes and return the minimal amount of energy the drone will need. Oh, okay. Now I get it. Okay, good. Perfect. Yeah, you help a lot. Okay, good.
Okay,
Perfect. Thank you.
cool.
Okay, so now I understand. So think let me look at the constraint. So okay, the length is less than or equal to 1, and less than or greater than or equal to 1, less than or equal to 100. Okay, that's fair. So okay, it's all integer. Okay, that's fine. So that's pretty clear. And the attitude is not gonna be negative, right?
Yeah, it won't be negative.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, let me think. So I will have something like, I'm just call it tank, or this is not oil, but it's not gas, but just for the sake of it. So we can call it battery or whatever it can be called. So the tank at 1 is gonna be, because we're adding energy, so it's gonna be plus 10, right? So basically, when it's at that spot, right? So it gain 10 amount of energy, right? So it's at that point it's gonna be plus 10. I mean, at the tank at 0 is gonna be the tank at 0 is, I'm gonna default it as 0. Okay. And then the tank at 2 is basically the 10. So that basically based on your math, it's gonna be the previous one, which is plus 10, and then basically add the difference between the gain in altitude is 6 minus 10. So essentially, if I put it more structured way, it looks like this. So in this case, it's gonna be, well, hold on. So yeah, so hold on. So it's gonna be the current altitude, minus 6. Yeah, in that case, it's gonna be 10 minus 6 equal to 4. And the tank at 3 is gonna be plus 2. Is basically it's a running total plus. So by that logic that we talked about before, it's gonna be 6 minus 15. In that case, it's gonna be negative 9. So it's 4 minus 9 is negative 5 at that point. So I think here we already kind of can see the answer, which is 5. So, and here, so by the same logic, is 8 minus 15, and it's gonna be negative 5. Well, hold on. So, oh no, it's 15 minus 8. Okay, which is 7. 7. Okay, that's plus 2. That's exactly the end answer that we talked about. So I think so the what was it? So the minimum amount of energy that we need is going to be 5 by this method. And the time complexity, we just need to look through all the altitude column of this matrix, right? And so it's going to be big over n. And for space, we need. Well, I don't think. Yeah, so space it's gonna be big over 1. Actually, we don't need this tank array. Just keep track of and have a minimum, a global minimum. We keep track of what's the lowest point, and that is we will return at the end. Would you agree?
I agree. Yeah, I agree. That's a good optimization right away. That's
so, good. Yeah, if you're okay, I'm gonna call it up.
Yes, I'm fine. That
Okay,
sounds
good.
the logic sounds sound.
Thank you. So for that's exactly this one, which is very helpful. I'm gonna cut x, y, and a in. So I directly do the destructuring right here, and I have a I'm gonna call it global mean, which I'm gonna initialize as a infinity. Yeah. Okay. So also I have the tank variable that we keep track of. At the beginning, it's gonna be 0, as we talked about. So, and yeah, so basically we just need to look through we started from the second one. Yeah. So in that case, I'm gonna do the following. So range of the length of I'm gonna start it from 1. I'm gonna start it equal to 1, and n is equal to the length of it. Yeah. So this is gonna be the index. So I'm gonna have the oops. That's fine. So I'm gonna have the current is equal to well, it doesn't matter. So I have the index -1, which is the previous one, and also the next one that's equal to the index itself, and then the route. So we just directly do this. Try to do that, or I can call it. I can do the destructuring over here already. So I cur x, cur y, which I don't use, but I just put it here anyway. So cur y, cur x. So and okay. So and I have something called div a, which what we discussed was the next a minus the current a. Okay, and this is measuring the change in the tank. So
is that what you had in your walkthrough?
Exactly. So I have the next attitude minus the current attitude, right? 0. Oh, sorry. You're right. So I have the flips. Good catch. Thanks.
You got it.
I have that, and the next one I'm gonna have is the tank. So the tank equal to the tank I had before plus the diff in A, and now I'm gonna have the global mean. It's gonna be it's the minimum of the pi global mean and the tank that I'm currently at. At the end, return the global mean. That's it. Thank you. Oops. It should be here.
So if you return your global min, so in this example, it's -5, right?
Oh, right. Okay, good. Negative. Let me think. Okay. Okay. So you talk about edge case now. So, okay. So there are a few cases. So we must be able to find global mean for sure. However, if the global mean is positive, I'm gonna have some cases to address in here. So if the global mean at the end is positive, gonna return 0. Or it means gonna be that may happen. Yeah, I think something like that maybe.
Yeah. Nice. Turns out.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Cool stuff.
It's good.
Oh, this session. Yeah. Do you have any follow-up question or do you have any feedback?
Do I have any follow-up? No, I have no follow-up questions. That was good. Man. Excuse me 1 second.
No
That was fast. Really fast. It was fast coding. Excellent. So I thought it was really good. You asked like clarifying questions right away. Make sure you understand the question. I think that's key to like every interview. And you got that out of the way right away. We walked through an example, so that was good. So you kind of figured it out as you were walking through the example that this -5 is the 5 we're looking for. You were good at optimizing right away, and before you coded. So I thought that was really good. You started out with the array, then you went straight to the constant. That was good. You had good time and space complexity analysis. Your walkthrough was sound. The loop from 1 to the end is good. That's like a good like kind of key corner consideration to think about. Maybe you're like totally nitpicking, but maybe your variable names confuse you here with the current and the next when it comes to doing this, because this cur is actually it's your previous, right? Because it's your index -1.
Yeah.
I don't know if that confused you or if you just like forgot briefly. But maybe variable naming can be improved here, but that's totally nitpicking. And then the last thing was this edge case. Maybe you want to think about it before you code, but as long as you take it all into consideration before you're running the code and like signing it in, I think it's fine. Either way.
Good to hear. Yeah. Thank you so much for the feedback. And
yeah,
do you have a spare like 10 minutes to network?
Yeah. Sure. This is good. This is really good.
Yeah. This is. This networking. I always talk to my Pramp friends, and after the sections, if it is completely optional, if you don't have time to prepare it, it's fine.
I have time.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see.
So I can go first, and yeah,
I
can share. Yeah. I can go first. Actually, I'm based in Canada. I'm working for. I'm not sure where you are based off. I'm working for a bank for. Its name is called Scotia Bank. So where I'm doing.
Cool.
Yeah. You know that bank?
Yeah. So I'm in New York. I'm in finance. So it's yeah. I'm familiar. Yeah, I'm familiar with the banks.
Yeah, I'm from a finance background as well. I'm not from CS. So
yeah, same. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So my story is I'm working on mostly. I'm working for. I'm reporting to Treasury. So mostly building a tool for a portfolio management team for traders basically. And so the backend I was using Python and SQL and also at the front end I'm using a little bit of JavaScript, which is not my domain actually, but I do know a little bit of JavaScript and React and stuff. Because I do see that you were, I think maybe you were doing some web development.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, for myself, I actually interviewed. I can share my interview experience first, and I interviewed with Google. In I think almost like 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago, I passed the first phone screen, but I didn't get passed for the second one. So, which is I share that story with my friends many times. Hopefully, people don't learn don't I mean don't I learned the lesson the hard way. So I just want people to know what what's going on in Google. So I was asked to code up a Python object. It's called iterator.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's something similar thing in JavaScript. So I didn't know what was iterator at that time. So I had a lot of hard time. I learned it the hard way, but now I know iterator back and forth. And so
Google questions are just notoriously difficult also. But yeah.
Oh, you heard of iterator before?
I've only run across a handful of problems with iterators on sites like LeetCode and HackerRank, but I have a Google interview next week, downside also. So I've been like preparing for a long time for them, and their questions are just incredibly difficult for good reason. Like they want them to be difficult.
Oh, you mentioned on-site?
Yeah, so I have an on-site next week. It's going to be virtual, but it's yeah, I've gone through. Yeah, go ahead. You can finish. I don't want to cut into your time. Go ahead.
Yeah. So no. So I will just share my story. So yeah, the thing that I heard from Google was that they cannot reuse problems. So yeah, so
That's right.
problem is like for Amazon, they can reuse. They have a set of problems that they can ask people, but for Google, they have like constantly create new problems. So
yeah,
really, the problem that we come across in LeetCode, basically they are just only for practice. It's impossible to come across them again.
Yeah,
and yeah, that's my second phone screen. The first one was it's kind of easy. I interviewed with a software engineer from California, so she was really nice. And even though we had some difficulty in communicating with her, but I went fine. The second one was really bad because so first I have a technical issue because the link I was given was not the actual link that I need to get into the interview room. So I waste like 10 to 15 minutes already.
Oh,
and
that's
that was
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the problem is also on my side because I switched the date. So
that's possible.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. Hopefully, this is not applicable to you. So I'm just sharing my failure to my friends to make sure that they don't follow the same thing again.
Yeah,
and then
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And then I click on the link. Nobody's in the room. I waited for 10 minutes, and then I didn't look at my phone but actually they call my phone. So don't mute your phone. Your phone is really important. They call my phone. I didn't know because this interview, right? And then so 10 minutes in, I realized I need to code up a Python iterator, which I don't know much about. So I bombed really badly. So yeah, that's me.
That's all right. I think there's just dozens of Google failure stories, more than there are successes. But that's just kind of like part of the learning process. Cool. So do you have interviews coming up?
Yeah. So actually, it's Amazon. I passed the phone screen with Amazon and online assessment. That was like around the same time when I was with Google interview, and then when I was about to go to on-site, they hired somebody just right ahead of me for AWS.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the story is not finished, and the recruiter came back to me a week later and say, "Oh, sorry that they said something like, oh, maybe someone is not available, but I know there's someone hired already." So they put me on the team for Vancouver, which is not AWS, and I said, yeah, maybe I put a pause on it now because of the psychological impact from Google. That's why I want to come back to Pramp and come back to LeetCode to get more practice before I go back to Amazon.
Cool.
So that's me. Yeah, that's me.
Okay, cool. So I've been in that boat. I've gone through 3 Amazon on-sites in the last like year and a half plus, like 24 months or whatever. That happened in the middle time, and it happened, something else happened the first time. So I've actually only completed 1 on-site, but I'm stuck in this loop of like just waiting for opportunities to open up and then hoping I get short-tracked to it. But yeah, I totally commiserate and know what you're going through for Amazon.
What was it hard for the Amazon problem?
The on-sites were not super difficult. They're like multi-part tree problems. Like, can you do this? Okay, what if we change the problem? Can you do this? And what if we change the problem? Can you do this? And then you just kind of like, you build out the problem from there and hope you have optimized well on along the way. What else did I have? I had some like array. I had like a subsequence type problem. Nothing like super complicated. Like no dynamic programming. No. Was there a graph? I think there was a graph question, but it was like in a grid format, so it was like only in 4 directions. Oh, make sure if you ever have a grid question, make sure you ask if it's 4 directions or 8, because 8 creates like all sorts of problematic edge cases.
What is 8?
So 8 is like if you can travel diagonally too.
Oh, like 8 directions.
Yeah. So yeah, always choose 4 if you're given a choice. Well, no, first ask to clarify if it's 4 or 8, and then always choose 4, because 8 creates like some weird edge cases in certain grids. That's a bit of advice. That's a good tip.
But the one that you was given is 4 direction, like go to row and go to the columns.
So they gave me a choice, and I didn't really think there would be a difference. I was like, oh, there's probably no difference. You can just create a directions array and iterate through that. But I was like, I'll just choose 4 because it's easier to code. And then when I was done with the problem, the interviewer was like, it's a good thing you chose 4 because 8 creates this like weird edge case that we only found like recently. But we had been asking the question for like 3 or 4 years. I was like, okay, cool. It's good to know. So yeah, so I've gone through like the Amazon loop. I'm still applying and like trying to get in. But I have Google next week for the on-site, and I know their questions are always like all over the place and difficult. I have a few like other interviews in New York. But yeah, so my background is I've been a trader actually and an investor on my own for the last like 10 years, but I've been in the industry for like almost 20 years. But I'm making a career change to try to do something with a bigger social impact, and more importantly, just like not be in a self-serving position like I am now. And I've enjoyed building things with software development, and I went through a boot camp and everything. So the last year, I've just been kind of like doing CS and learning algorithms and data structures and on lead code all the time. Yeah.
Wow, you are founder of a company.
It's a 1-person company. You know, it's like I had a choice between either starting a hedge fund or being on my own, and then it was kind of right around the time the regulations surrounding finance firms was spiking a lot. Like my old firm was like hiring a lot of lawyers, and the overall cost of starting a hedge fund with clients was just kind of skyrocketing at the time. So I decided to just be on my own for a couple of years, and then that became, I don't know, however long it's been 10 years, I guess. And it's been nice. It's like having some autonomy and not having to answer to people while also like maintaining a business in a sense, and trading. It's been like a good experience for me.
But I've seen that you're a stock trader, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I used to be a bond trader when I was in the government. So basically, selling bonds to get funding. I did that for a year, but I don't think that was the thing for me though. I enjoy more building stuff.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's great because like software, like it's limitless, right? It's whatever your imagination can think up of, and what you can produce with some like diligence and hard work. So it's great, and it's great that it can like affect so many people. Yeah.
So I'm curious about so the Amazon process is not finished yet for you, right?
Yeah, I'm just kind of stuck in the loop right now, waiting. So my second on-site was canceled with like 3 days to go because they hired somebody, and then my third one was canceled for something similar to it, I think. But actually, my first one ended with them giving me an offer for a different position, which I didn't really want, so I passed. And then they were like, "Okay, we'll just keep you in the system, and then when something comes up, hopefully you'll be."
What area are you focusing on right now within software engineering?
Just like full stack. I'm not like particular to
Web
front.
development.
Yeah, I'm not particular to front or back end. I'm just kind of like applying to everything.
So are you thinking of like doing fintech stuff in the future? Like you combine finance with technology now. You know both.
Yeah. So the one thing, like going through the boot camp, was they're like, do something in fintech because you have a background there, and I understand that like having that edge might give me a leg up, maybe in getting that first position. But in changing careers, I was really hoping to do something completely different. So on the one hand, I am applying to Bloomberg, and I have an interview with them next week. So there are a lot of fintech companies in New York. On the other hand, I would like to have like a broader social impact, I think, than just be stuck in the finance world. Otherwise, I don't know. I mean, I understand that at some point, if like Google doesn't come through or Amazon doesn't come through, I should just be applying to fintechs to get the experience I need to get into Google and Amazon. But I don't know. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it.
Fair enough. Okay. Okay, great. Well, I think you are pretty busy for preparing for interview. I'm gonna let you go.
It was really nice meeting you. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
My name is Yao. And last tip that I maybe I can give it to you. I heard it from another Pramp friend. She said another question that tripped him off during an Amazon interview. I'm not sure you come across the same thing in Google. So was a bit manipulation. So he wasn't familiar with bit manipulation.
No, they said they stopped doing that.
Yeah, that was really brutal. He said, but he ended up with Wish, which get him way more money than Amazon, which is a plus for him. But he told me that he was really not nice.
Yeah. That is not nice. I don't know if I would quit on the spot, but I would be really pissed that there's like extra stuff. So for Amazon, I assume, I don't want to assume, but I assume they told you about the 14 leadership principles that they quiz you on.
Yeah, I heard it. I heard from some people told me that the leadership principle sometimes is even more important than the coding section. That's what I heard.
Yeah, that's right. So maybe it's 16 now, but it was 14 like a year ago. I think I heard that it was like 16 now. But the first, like every interview on the onsite is an hour long, and the first half hour, an interviewer is asking you about a specific leadership principle. And a lot of times they won't tell you, oh, this is leadership principle, whatever. Number one is like ownership or something. They'll ask you questions and you kind of have to listen and identify which leadership are they talking about? What story can I tell about myself to address that leadership principle? Because each interviewer is in charge of a different leadership principle, and they want to collect as many different stories that address their leadership principle as possible without overlap. Because when they meet in the end, if there's overlap, they have to kind of like cut and paste. You know, they want as much data as possible to make the decision. So you really want to keep track of like what stories you tell, like don't repeat stories, and then what leadership principles you're covering in each story. And I know it's like extra work, but yeah.
It's like a little guessing game that you must know what kind of leadership principle is being asked.
Yeah, totally. So I don't know how you organize, but like I like made like a spreadsheet of leadership principles and like gave 2 stories for each one, and then like try to like practice from there. Like I practiced a little on Pramp, but it wasn't as clean.
Is that good? The behavioral practice on Pramp?
It's very general. The only thing that it's really good for is like practicing listening to someone asking you a question and then trying to figure out like what story can I tell that addresses that question. It's just practice, really. Yeah, you gotta really practice listening, I think, because it's just not as obvious sometimes what they're asking. But
Yeah.
I don't think people on Pramp are very experienced with the behaviorals. So they're not always good at like giving feedback or even like listening to your story and then trying to evaluate whether or not that addresses the question. It's kind of just practice
Yeah. So
talking,
basically,
listen to the other person, practice talking.
basically, you can see from the other perspective. Basically, what you're
Yeah,
saying is.
yeah, that helps definitely. So
Yeah, I think the behavioral part for Google was Googleness, right? That's what I heard.
yeah, googliness. Yeah, I'm doing the same thing with that, but it's not as in depth. Like Amazon, once you prepare for Amazon, it's like everything else is like a little bit easier because Amazon really specifically hits it in every single interview. So I don't know. That's my hope anyway.
Okay. All right, then I'm gonna let you go, and best of
Cool.
luck to your Google interview.
Good luck
And
to you too.
yeah, if you get on it, don't forget to refer.
Yes. Same.
Best of luck.
Good luck.